Hey everyone, Austin Schneider here. Welcome to Rise Podcast, where we talk about real influence, self-development, and entrepreneurship. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Rise Podcast. Super excited. We got Mo on set today. He is a video strategist. We've had such a fun time together. It's been fun to get to know you, Mo. If you're listening in, if you are a business owner, if you have something to market, if you're wanting to crush it on social media, if you're wanting to crush it on video, this next 45, 50 minutes is going to be for you, because this will be some good convo, Mo. And I'm stoked about this because not only are you a video strategist, that's how I know you as, but you've also helped me. You've helped Braintegic. I think one thing that I really appreciated was the hour that we got to spend together that really helped create a lot of clarity from a lot of clutter, because there's so much noise out there when it comes to social media, video, all that stuff. And your just strategies, your ways to make everything so much easier and less intimidating has been really valuable for myself and Braintegic. So a lot of what everybody sees, if you guys follow me on Instagram, is a product of Mo's help. So I want to honor you for that, man.
Dude, much love. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for all the love you just shared. And I'm actually a big fan of yours. So without us like gushing over each other for a few minutes, I'm a fan of not just the aesthetic and style and creativity, but, and I said this right before we started recording, just the culture that you bring along with your personal brand. Because I think a lot of people have it misconstrued when they're trying to quote unquote pop off on social media. It's like, let me focus on what it is that I do and just teach it all the time. But you have this beautiful aura about you that is just, this is not a word, but followable. And I think a lot of people can learn that just from observing what you do, that I think comes intuitively to you. And you probably, once you're able to turn that into a product, it's the moon at that point. But I just wanted to give you your flowers as well on that.
Yeah. Thanks, man. And it's just a product of, I think, not caring what people think. Yeah. Which I'm sure you get a lot of in your conversations. I care about my hair, care about my da. But we'll get into that later. I want to set the foundation. Yeah. I want you to maybe kind of give us a little backtrack on your story and kind of how you got to video, like why you're doing this, your passion for it, because you're really good at that. I don't say that lightly because I'm in this space myself. Like I could consider you as a competitor if I really wanted to, but we're in the same space, and I see a lot of people, I see a lot of these gurus, I see a lot of these strategists, and I'm like, I don't like, what have you done? But after watching you, observing you, seeing what you've done and your help with me, you walk the walk. So that's an endorsement from me. And if anybody's listening and they're fired up, I would definitely hire Mo. But tell us a little bit about your story, how you got to where you are.
Yeah. So I'm actually a thoroughbred academic. So I was born in Egypt and moved to the United States in '99 because my mom got a PhD, or got a fellowship to get a PhD at the University of Pittsburgh. So first immigrant, what is it called? First generation American. Yeah. And all my life, the only path that I knew was academia. So I'd watch my mom like strive, right? Do the damn thing. She's getting her PhD. She's writing thesis. She's traveling all over the world. If you type her name in, she is the kind of the face of her field. And then we went back to Egypt for my teenage years. And then we came back to the United States when I was 16, right outside of New Orleans, which is where I live. And she got a Fulbright scholarship at the university. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to be an academic. Like that's the path, right? You immigrant, you come, you educate, you become a professor. That's all I knew. So I was a very, very, very good student, 4.0, summa cum laude, published, honors, the whole nine. And then after undergrad, I got a job during undergrad and after undergrad, I got a job in hospitality where I was managing hotels for almost 6 years. And I realized that the corporate infrastructure, I was not a fan of. And this was around the 2010, 2013 era. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back to academia. That's what I know. And I get my master's, and then I see what people, like the people that actually want to be academics, and then the people that are just doing it because it's the next step of what we've been taught and conditioned all our life. You go to high school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, or you become a professor, whatever.
Yeah.
And I realized the different levels of passion, like those that were in it because they loved the research and the topic and they wanted to teach and grow the literature and grow the field. They were exceptional scholars. And you see this in entrepreneurship too, like the people that actually want to build a business, not just to make money, but to solve a problem and create influence and move people's lives forward. They perform at a completely different capacity.
Yeah.
And then I saw the ones that were just doing it to do it. And then Gary Vee was in my ear heavy.
Dude, I was just thinking that. I was like, you had to be listening to Gary Vee.
Gary Vee was in my ear heavy then. And I was like, listen, I wasn't feeling motivated to do academia. It felt like I was having to do it because it's what I'm supposed to be doing, or what I was told that I'm supposed to be doing. And I was like, listen, I'm a good student. My teachers love me. I do well in academia. I could try this entrepreneurship thing for 10 years. And if it fails, school will always be there.
Yeah.
Academia will never go away. It's the foundation of society, right? Education it liberates if you're able to do it effectively. So I had to have a conversation with, guess who? My mom, who's a PhD. I'm scared, terrified, dude. Because again, immigrant, like the reason why I'm even in the States
for sure
is because of academia. And she was the reason why we were able to be in America and all these kind of things. So we're sitting down at a Thai restaurant in Washington. She was visiting for a conference. And I sit down with her and I'm like, I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about this story again. I'm sitting down, I'm looking at her, I'm like, listen, I'm like a year out of my master's, working in the field, teaching at the university. I'm like, yo, I don't think I'm going to do this PhD thing.
Wow.
And I'm expecting her to react like, how dare you? You've dishonored the family. I don't know why I was expecting this, because my family is very progressive.
Yeah.
And she was like, Habibi, which means my love in Arabic. She's like, Habibi, I trust you. I've raised you right. You're my firstborn. You've done exceptionally well this whole time. It's your life. And I trust that you're making the right decision for yourself. And in that moment, I was like, what? Like I wasn't expecting, because it was, when a comedian has a setup and you're expecting a certain punchline and they go left and you're like, what just happened? It's the perfect punchline. And in that moment, I realized that if you are doing things on behalf of expectations of anybody else, whether it's people that love you the most, and it's usually the people that love you the most, and we're conditioned over time. My background is in psych and comm, so we can get into all that.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself a disservice. So when she said that, it was like an unlock. It's almost like I needed her permission. And when I got it, that was it. Because I had always been passionate in photography, film, music. I rap. So like the performance element was there. Now I had to figure out how to turn it into a business. Yeah. And at that point, I think I did the traditional route that many people do. I started as a freelancer in photography and video. Sure. And then the more people saw my content online, they were like, how can you make us content like that? And then the rest is history. But I needed that moment. So if there's any novice entrepreneurs or anyone that's thinking like, I'm going to dishonor my family.
Sure.
Trust me, as someone who was in the same exact position as you, at the end of the day, they're going to love you. And when they see the results that you're able to have from following your passion and your purpose, all that other stuff, the minutia, they forget. And they, no doubt. As long as the core foundation is built on love with the people that really matter in your life, they're going to forget all of we thought you should have done it this way.
For sure. What a cool story. I never knew that. This is the first time I've heard it. But thanks, I feel like there's so many people out there that let anything, like it doesn't need to just be your family, but maybe something's holding them back, and just cut through the crap and have that vulnerable conversation. Yes. Like stopping yourself because it's just an excuse. But what you did is you were like, okay, I got to have this conversation with my mom. I could go a really good route in academics, right? That's probably a pretty good career on paper, right? Yeah. But it's like, I'm going to do my own thing and risk it all. But I'm going to stop stopping myself and talk to the barrier, face the giant that could be holding me back. And then it ends up not even being a problem for you. So I wonder how many people are listening to this and are like, this thing that's in my way, I just need to address it versus avoid it or let it just be my excuse.
Yeah. So many.
That's cool.
There's still areas in business, and I'm sure, there are moments where you have to make huge decisions and, you're accountable for them. And there may be moments where you're scared to make the decision, but it has to be made. And our minds are literally programmed to keep us safe. So you just have
the anticipation that crushes it, right?
100%.
It's the anticipation that gets you more anxious than the actual participation.
100%.
So
and you build it up in your head.
Yeah. Just grows and grows and grows. And it's like, dang.
Exactly.
Then you're done. And it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Man, all the time. Happens to me. So now, man, now you are just cranking on the video. You are helping a lot of people. Share what you're kind of up to now.
Yeah. So my main focus, video is the vessel, but my main focus is to help entrepreneurs become stronger and more effective communicators and then build their authority using video, which then translates into an audience and then translates into affluence. So amplifying your authority, your audience, and your affluence, because I'll give you a very small example. Because I think a lot of people overthink content, and you brought this up in the beginning. And the reason why I think the way that you do content outside of the educational stuff is so powerful. I made a video on my Instagram where I was rapping, literally just rapping. Like, it wasn't educational rap, but I was rapping. Someone hits me in the DM, that someone is now a client. And they were like, I love your raps. I love your creativity around it. I'd love to just connect, and I love the way that you execute on video. So I think sometimes we think that you have to have like an ad with an offer, with a clear call to action. And there's elements that you always have to have in video for it to work. But a big part of it is just putting yourself out there in a capacity that is true to who you are, that will attract people that like those things, that want those things. And then they're going to ask you they're going to ask you questions, and you're going to have conversations. So now my goal in my company Mox is we amplify your voice and your message, and we teach you as a communicator how to be more effective, because that's my academic background. And we translate that via video content on social for you to grow an audience and have people slide in them DMs and say like, yo, what are you about? I'd love to connect. So.
Yeah. And one thing that you hit on that made me think was, being authentic, right? And just being yourself. How do we teach people how to do that? Because I feel like, especially businesses, even people that we work with, they want to have this facade. They try so hard to control a brand image, which in my opinion, and I share it with them, it's like, that doesn't connect with anybody. Whereas how do you go a deeper layer than your core values, or just what you do in order to connect with people?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And a lot of it is grounded in strategy, where like you said, and I'm sure Brand Strategic and the team does this, I'm figuring out their core values, I'm figuring out their vibe. But for me, and this is something that I've come to more recently, and this may be a long-winded answer, so bear with me.
Yeah.
There's something, you have to be able to reflect on your story and find the catalyst points. So what are the catalyst points? The catalyst points are specific moments in your timeline that change the trajectory of your life and henceforth your business. For example, the first story we talked about at the beginning of the podcast for me was a huge catalyst point, right? Going from academic to business owner to scaling the business to 6 figures in the first year. These are all things that I share through my content, because there's probably a novice business owner that is going through that same thing, and they can immediately relate to my catalyst point in their own journey. So for you, I see a lot, when I say you, I'm talking directly to Austin. He does this so well when I see him post things like him and his team having what I call like an initiation for the new office, right? And there's fellowship, and there's purpose, and there's a religious background there. There's things there that people can relate to. So I want you to go back through your timeline and just ask yourself, where was a big mistake that I overcame? Where was a big success, right? Where was a big moment of epiphany? Like maybe you heard a podcast, and you hear this all the time. Someone's like, I read a book and my life changed after reading that book. These are all catalyst points. And we should do that in the strategy. Just like we figure out their personal brand as far as like their core values, the tone of voice, the look and feel. I want to hear those catalyst points. And I'll give you a famous example that everyone that's probably listening can relate to. What's the first line under every YouTube video for Gary Vee before he went from VaynerMedia to VaynerX? It was, I took my father's business from 3 million to 60 million using this. YouTube, that's his catalyst point.
Yeah.
That's his and everyone's like, how did he do that? I want to learn how to do that. Let me go follow him and ask questions. So figure out your catalyst points. That to me is so powerful. And when you share it, then stage 2 is you have to be comfortable to share it. You have to be, or else it's just dead on arrival. No one's going to know about it. So figure out those catalyst points.
So what do you say to the people who are like, I am nervous to be vulnerable. I'm nervous to share my story. I really having a good brand image, like people say the Instagram feed is a highlight reel, where it's like, oh, it's just for my button up photos. And now I see, I look at Instagram different now, where when I see it too buttoned up, I just don't relate. I'm like, is this person real? So what are you saying to the people who are just extremely uncomfortable to be vulnerable on Instagram, or to share their story, or to share beyond just the surfacey stuff? Because I feel like that stops a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because to be vulnerable, you have to be comfortable with yourself. Many of the people that you watch online are sharing stories that they've already been through. The pain is over. They're no longer in an active state. They're in a reflective state. So they're able to share it a little bit with more ease, versus if you're going through it, it might be a lot harder. So my question for you is, how can you generate comfort to be okay to share those stories, right? The way that I generate comfort is I think about somebody that's out there that I don't know, that upon hearing that story is going to transform their life, because they can only hear it from me. Like you said it in the beginning, me and you relatively do the same thing. You attract a certain type of person. I attract a certain type of person. Your stories resonate with a certain type of person. So my goal always is I figure out the internal, like that we call it intrinsic motivation. Like, why am I even creating content in the first place? That's like question number 1 with any of my clients. Why are we creating content at all? Because if your paid ads are working, if your billboard marketing is working, why are you coming to me? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say things like, I want to grow an audience, I want to build influence, and I want to down the line convert. Well, the way to do that is for people to know, like, and trust you. And for people to know, like, and trust you, they have to see things beyond just a product or service.
So true.
So it's a means to an end. And so once we figure out the intrinsic, which is your goal motivation, then we need to focus it on the extrinsic, which is, who am I serving? Right? And what problems am I going to solve when I communicate with them that are beyond just getting them my service or product? Like, how do I transform their life? And for me, that's a big catalyst, because I'm an extrovert and a former people pleaser, but that's another story for another time. I think once you can take it away from the ego, which is why people are scared to be vulnerable. People are going to think of me negatively. No one's going to like me. I'm going to be outed from my community because I'm doing something different, et cetera. And the third, and we focus it on these other things that are objective and measurable, it becomes a lot easier to create at scale. And
super interesting.
So that
makes a lot of sense. It's literally just making sense of why people are scared to post content, or why they're scared to put themselves out there beyond a super buttoned up photo that was taken with the Sony A7 III and has this filter on it and and makes my feed look good. And I also think about probably the most influential people in my life, even I might not personally know them, but like the Ed Miletts, the John Maxwells, the people who are like the brands that I really resonate with. It's not because they're so buttoned up and they just have the coolest clothes. It's the brand that I'm connecting with. It's their story. I feel like Ed Milet, for instance, I feel like I know everything about him. I'm like, this is my boy, but I've never even met him, but I've just heard him and hear how he acts, hear his vulnerabilities. I know who his family is. It's kind of creepy on my end, maybe, but it's it's because he shares so much good stuff on his podcast and just through his content.
Let me tell you something. This is backed by research. This is a lot of the work that I did back in academia, and I talk about this a lot because sometimes the proof needs to be you need to show proof in the pudding. Yeah. As human beings, one of our core fundamental needs outside of food and shelter is belongingness. I'm going to say that again. One of our core fundamental needs is belongingness. And there's research by the giants in this space, Baumeister and Leary, and they showed that the lack of feeling like you belong actually equates, the brain calculates it like physical pain. So when you feel alone, when you're by yourself, your brain calculates it like, I'm in physical pain. They equate it the same way.
Yeah.
So everything that Austin just said about like, I feel like I know Ed Milet is because we want to belong with a specific group of people that reflect our own self-image, or we want like the image we want to become and aspire to become. Yeah. So we can feel like we're part of a community. It's why we've survived as long as we have as human beings. So the question becomes, if you aren't vulnerable, if you don't share, you close the door to the ability to create belongingness with an audience, i.e. prospective client.
Wow.
So like the reason why we did business is because there was something there that I did, that you did, that connected us on a human level that then translated into business. And the only way to do that is to not hide, unless you're one of these category exceptional businesses that have been around for a long time where you don't even need the marketing.
Sure.
Right. But if you're into this game now, it's the formula. Like there's no other way around it, you know?
No kidding.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Cause I was watching your videos and I was like, man, like this guy knows what he's talking about. I like his personality. I like his vibe. I like the way you're connecting with the audience. I like how you're connecting. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I could learn from you. And that's exactly why I hired you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because I know you experience this too with clients when there's resistance towards doing something different, right? And then you ask them, who do you follow? And they'll say the Ed Milets, the Tom Bilyeu's, or they'll say a famous name like Gary Vee or whatnot. I'm like, how do you know about them? You know what I mean? And then you just use that logic and they're like, well, I've seen them on Instagram. I've seen them on Facebook. I've seen them. Okay. What about them made you follow them?
Yeah.
Well, they shared this one story and I'm like, now the jugular hits like, why aren't we doing that for you? You're so amazing.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's like recreate the path of how you've become a consumer for someone, for yourself as a business owner or entrepreneur to get the consumer to you.
Totally. But so I think people listening to this, maybe they're like, okay, this is great. I understand that I need to be putting myself out there. Mm-hmm. I understand that I need to be vulnerable and less worried about perfectionism, blah, 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 blah. If I do want to build a tribe, if I do want to use Instagram to my advantage to potentially get business. So what happens next? If I know who I am, if I know what I'm about, I think the real stopping point is I'm sure you get this all the time. I don't know what to post.
Sure.
I don't know how to create content for my brand, or like, I get what my value add is and like who I am, but now it comes down to the posting and they just stop themselves.
Yeah. So let's unpack that. Like, what do you think is the most difficult thing for people when it comes to posting? Like, why aren't they posting? Like, is it not knowing the type of content when you say what to post? Explain that for me a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like they compare themselves to others.
Sure.
I think that's a deep rooted thing, is comparing themselves to others. They don't feel that the piece of content will communicate their brand in the most effective way. Mm-hmm. I mean, I even get that as well, where it's like, I don't know if this is in line, consistent with it. I'm not creative.
Sure.
I don't have a beautiful studio. I don't have this awesome kitchen to cook in. I don't have XYZ. Yeah. So I would say the creativity, I would say the scared of what other people think, the comparison, and then no creative ideas. It takes so much time. I don't have a plan.
Yeah. I think in the stages where someone is entering into creating content, there are some mindset shifts that we have to have from traditional advertising that is going to eliminate a lot of these things that we just talked about. So the first thing we need to just ground ourselves in, and this is something that I ask my clients before we do any done for you services, I'll be like, yo, are you ready to play the long game? Because this is not a post a piece of content, get a DM, make a sale. It's not that. So the first thing we need to understand is like, are we willing to play the long game? Let's just cement that in our minds and be okay with that because it is a long game. The second thing, as far as the comparing and putting yourself out there, I think we covered that in the beginning. So like, I think if you're ready to make content, then you know that that's something that we're going to overcome. And the way we're going to overcome it is just by posting regularly. Now let's talk about how to actually pull it off. Because I think the creative part that you said is probably the biggest thing. I want to first identify a goal for you as a client, and you should be doing the same for yourself. Like, what does success look like? Is it the number of output? Is it the creative? Is it the amount of DMs? Is it the audience growth? Because we need to measure why we're making this effort so we don't get lost in the vanity sauce. That's super important. So let's identify that goal. It's like within 90 days, I just want to be able to post consistently 3 times a week. I'm not even looking at metrics because I just got to get my muscle used to the fact that I'm posting. Or like I need more followers. So just let's identify the goal first and foremost, have an objective point. Now, to come up with topic ideas, we can do 2 things. It's usually one of these 2. First one is, if we've already done the looking backwards at our story, is to share philosophies, perspectives, and POVs from our life and our business. This is the personal brand side, how we think, the way we look at the world, the knowledge we have. Then the second thing is the audience. And I know Austin knows this, but I'll share it just in case. Like, the ideas are going to come from the audience. Before you have an audience, the way you do this is you create the ideal audience that you want to have. And then you ask yourself, and I love to do this matrix, it's the PRS matrix: problem, risk, solution, right? What are the problems that they're facing? Just list them out. Like, make an exhaustive list. What's the risk if they don't solve that problem on their life? And then what are the solutions that can eliminate that problem and mitigate the risk? Yeah. And when we do that, I know I'm getting in super technical here.
No, it's great.
The solution column are content ideas. Those are the content ideas. In the early stages, we want to educate more so than we want to entertain. So we want to be very focused on who we're talking to, what we're talking about. This is the personal side that we talked about earlier. And then we just do that consistently over time. Yeah. We take the results that we get from this abundant amount of content and we tweak accordingly. Oh, this didn't work. This worked. Why did this work? Oh, I said the hook differently. There was a different camera angle included. I added a story post after I made a feed post to promote it. This is why it worked. The hashtags look this way. But foundationally, identify your story, your background, mindset, knowledge, all that kind of stuff. Identify the audience and what they need to hear from someone like you to bridge the gap from where they are to where they want to go. That would be so how, good. I mean, that's the how. Like, I gave you the why, the what, and that's the how. You could do that.
100%. So if I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh, I don't know about video. I don't know what to post. Get a piece of paper, rewind for 30 seconds and do what Mo just said to freaking do. And then what I'm hearing is just start, like, flex that muscle, post 2 times a week, 1 time a week, whatever you're most comfortable, and just start with educating people. How do you help them? What's the problem that you're solving? What's the problem, risk, solution? Do that over and over and over again for the next 3 months, and you'll see how comfortable you really are on camera, and watch it scale, because you're gonna get more efficient. You're gonna get more comfortable on camera. You're gonna come up with more creative ideas as well. I also think another thing when it comes to video, for me at least, is when I go on Instagram, I don't go and scroll and I'm like, oh, that's really cool, next. I'm studying what people are doing. And I'm figuring out what I can do, what I can pull from them, and how I can create it in my own realm. Like, I'm not sitting there, like, use Instagram as a tool to inspire your creativity, to build your brand, not to get sucked into the vortex and waste time. So
100%, 100. And we're all human. Like, I'm guilty of this all the time. Sometimes I'll be scrolling, I'll be like, what was I doing on here again? Like, what was, you know what
Same, dude.
Like, oh, I just saw like 10 reels and they're all fire. Like, and now I feel kind of bad about myself. And then I stop. I'm like, okay, go back to consume to study, not consume to consume. Right. And then I immediately pull out my notebook. I'm like, okay, how do I make this my own? So you're 100% right. 100% right. Yeah. I want to add one more thing that just hit me, because in case you are starting out, for those that are seasoned, I'm sure you know this, but this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately that is not talked about enough because there's a lot of tactics. Austin, bar none, when I get a client call, they're like, we want to make content like Gary Vee. And that's immediately like a red flag for me. I'm like, do you know that Gary Vee has like a 50-man team just for his personal brand? I just want to point that out. What they're saying is, I want to be omnipresent. I want to be everywhere all the time on the dime, right? That is overwhelming if you're just starting out, and it's actually going to lead to a short amount of effort and not sustainable. So I want you to ask yourself, what is my capacity? And your capacity is going to be dictated by, are you a solopreneur where you're doing all this by yourself? Are you like me and Austin, where you have a small and also a big team? He has a bigger team. And then you ask yourself, what is the capacity? And then we make the output match the capacity. So for example, if you're a solopreneur and you have a business to run, a family to feed, all these different things that you're responsible for, and you tell yourself, my capacity is no more than 4 hours a week. Now I got to ask myself, realistically, how many pieces of content can I put 4 hours a week consistently? And then you figure out the medium and you figure out the style of post, and then you do it based on that. Because the last thing you want to do is set this arbitrary goal based on someone else's output, and then you try to do it and you're burnt out and you're like, F this, I'm out.
100%.
So figure out your capacity, super important. And I say that from experience because I go through the dips and valleys of the capacity issue. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's a crawl, walk, run approach, right?
100%.
It's like, let me just do what I can do. Don't put my head down, and then you'll get better, and then you'll start to see fruit of it. And 100%. I think and then like you can actually do your job and you're not just creating content all the time. Because I think people will think that that's what they'll need to do all the time, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Because it's great. Like even my content, I probably spend maybe 6 hours a month on it.
There you go.
And I have endless amounts of content to post that I still haven't posted, you know? So I think even chatting with you, there's so much revelation and ideas of how I can, because I don't have that much time. So how do I make the most of my time based off of the resources that I have, which is a team, and luckily in a studio, luckily in videographers and editors and stuff like that, in order to be most efficient with my output, you know? So you and I you helped me really determine what that looked like.
Yeah. So, and it's a constant tweaking. Yeah. It's a constant tweaking. Don't super glue your feet down to one way. Just try it and tweak as you go. That's the biggest thing about content creation, especially because the market is changing too. I need to get on your calendar again because we gotta let's do it.
we gotta revamp mine, because we probably talked last quarter, you know, and I feel like every quarter would be at least a reasonable amount from a consulting perspective. I know you do more than that, but from a consulting perspective of like, hey, here's what you should do now. And you observe me, we follow each other. So, So back to video. Okay. So we know we need to do it. We got a little game plan. And I want to give some people some practical stuff, because you share a lot of good stuff on your social media. If you're listening to this and you're not following Mo on Instagram, do that right now and follow him for all of his phenomenal tips, but actually do what he says. So, okay. We know we need to do it. We have the how to do it.
Right.
What about how to form? So if I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start to do educational videos, quick educational videos. How do I formulate a video that is actually gonna get engagement? That's actually gonna catch people's attention on the platform that I'm gonna use? Because I see people all the time, we're guilty of filming them, where it's like, hey, I'm Austin with Brain Strategic. So I'm gonna talk about 3
Can't do it.
And then it's like, next, I heard the stat recently that people watch 14 TikToks every 60 seconds.
Yeah.
14. That's, I don't know how many scrolls per second that is, but that is, people do not want to listen to you introduce yourself. You gotta, like, what is the formula to get them to watch?
Yeah. That's an excellent point. I made a video a long time ago where I said, don't introduce the introduction, which is what you just said, where it's like, hi, my name is such and such. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about, that's 5 seconds right there. Yeah. And the stat that he just pulled, which is the most recent stat, like, so they're watching 14 videos in what, 16 seconds? 60
seconds, 60 a minute,
seconds.
14 TikToks a minute.
That's ridiculous. 14 TikToks a minute. So let's just talk about the formula. The beautiful thing about,
but I also think, maybe before you start, I also think platform dependent, because maybe for YouTube, an introduction might work better, or email. So maybe as you explain, you can hit on that, because I don't even know. It'll be great to hear from you.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Let's talk about the difference between YouTube and social. So social is push marketing, which means we're just feeding people stuff based on what they like to watch. There's no intentionality from the viewer to go and consume it. So this is Instagram, this is TikTok, this is LinkedIn now, where you're literally on the phone, you're scrolling, and things are just being fed to you. I'm going to pause right there. Versus YouTube, which is pull, right? This person has a problem or they have a need. They log in. There's so much intentionality, right?
Yeah.
They're logging into YouTube. They're searching in the search engine. They're sifting through thumbnails and titles, and they're choosing what they're going to watch. So you have a lot more wiggle room to in the introduction of the video to explain yourself a little bit more thoroughly, because they're already there with the intention to learn from you. That's why longer form videos work. I want to focus on social though, because that's kind of my bread and butter, but also because I just think there's a repeatable formula across all social platforms. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we get the attention of the person. Again, push, right? As soon as they swipe, there's a few components that are going to get their attention. The first one is literally what comes out of your mouth the first 3 seconds. And ideally you want to have the word you in there. And ideally you want to phrase it in a way that is future centric, which means like you're identifying a problem that they're currently having and highlighting how you're going to solve it. So a great example of this is in the form of a question. You can say, do you struggle to make video content consistently on Instagram? And if they're that person, they're like, yes, Mo, I am. Yes, Mo, I do. I do struggle to make Instagram consistent. You can take it a step further. If you have your ideal avatar so dialed in, you won't be able to unhear this or unsee this every time you watch an ad. I can say, if I'm targeting Austin, for example, and I want more business or more followers like Austin, I can say, as an agency owner, as a marketing agency owner, do you have a tough time doing for yourself what you do for clients when it comes to video? So he's in at that point. He has a marketing agency. He's trying to build his personal brand. I'm talking to him, right? So that's the first thing. Your first 3 seconds have to be perfect in that regard to who you're talking to, what problem do you solve, what's the desired learning outcome.
Is that what you call the hook?
Yes, the hook.
Cool.
So in every video, there's a hook and then there's a call to action at the end. So that's the front and the back end. Now let's talk about the body. And this is my academic coming out. Limit to everything you explain to 3 to 5 main points, no more. Because the human working memory capacity cannot process or remember in real time more than 3 things at once. So what I tell people is you have a learning outcome, which is one key takeaway that the audience is going to get from this video. And then you're going to break up how you explain it into 3 points. For example, let's say that this video is about how to not mess up on camera when speaking. That's the learning outcome, right? My key takeaway that I want people to know is I'm going to teach them how to make an outline. So the hook is, are you frustrated that every time you turn the camera on, you're saying, like freezing up and not knowing what to say? Well, you probably have a preparation issue. So that's the hook. And then I'm going to go into my 3 points. What I like to do is you can break up the 3 points. These are my frameworks that I use for everything, reels, whatever. What, why, how? What am I talking about? Why is it important? How can the person do it for themselves? Or what's an example of it being done? The how. So I can say, what you need is something known as an outline, where you map out everything you're going to be talking about before you turn the camera on. Why this is important? Because you need to know where you're going before you actually start filming. How you're going to do that? You're going to create a hook, a call to action, and 3 main points. There's my video right there.
Yeah.
The second form that I like to tell people about is problem, solution, visualization. What's the problem? What's the solution? What does life look like after the solution has been put in place? So this can sound like you're currently mumbling on camera because you don't have what's known as an outline. I want you to take a piece of paper and no more than 5 sentences, write a hook statement, the problem, the solution, and what the world looks like for that person after they do it. And if you want to learn more, read the caption. There's my call to action, right? And And then visualization could be the next time you make a video, you're with an outline, you're going to realize that you're not stuttering or freaking out as much on camera, and the way you're speaking is smoother.
Yeah.
So that would literally be the how. Your goal in the early stages, if you're making video, is to try your best to keep this within 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Data has shown that like 9 to 15 seconds is the sweet spot. And that's why people are consuming 14 TikToks in 1 minute.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Mo,
so that's the formula right there. Do
bingo.
that for like a month straight. And I promise you will get better on camera.
Yeah, and I hope the people listening are not just saying, okay, that's cool, that's cool. I hope what they can do is they can timestamp exactly where this is. They can go back, listen to Mo, do it. He just outlined it for you. So there's really no reason that you should not be creating content that's going to be effective. If you are marketing something, if you do want to use Instagram, if you do want to use social media to start building your business. Right, and then going back to stop stopping yourself. Here's the blueprint. Yes. Here's the format. You probably already know who your customer is. Just go for it. Try, crawl, walk, run, man. And you have so many resources on your Instagram too, which I think is just powerful. I mean, I go to your Instagram honestly, I'll go on your Instagram and be like, okay, I need to film some reels today. How should I format it? And then I start to study you because you have so many resources and it's valuable. And that's why I hire you, man.
Much love. I want to share one more thing and then we can, I don't know if we need to wrap or what.
No, I got
these platforms
for you.
I'm here for it. I love jamming with you. There's a lot of excuses that are made. And I say this with the highest amount of compassion because I know the struggle of making particularly video content. It's not something that you just type up and screenshot and post. There is some methodical steps that you have to go through. But these platforms have made everything so much easier for you now to where there's built-in subtitles. There's built-in ways to put the title on the screen. So when we're talking about the outline that we just talked about, I want to challenge you that doing something like this should not take you more than 15 minutes. Yeah. And I say that from experience. If you have an outline in front of you, limit it to 5 sentences, a sentence for each main point that you're talking about, the action, problem, solution, visualization, or hook, problem, solution, visualization, action. And then open Instagram if you're on Instagram, open TikTok if you're on TikTok, and just say each sentence by itself and then stitch the video and press the captions button at the top and it'll add the subtitles for you.
Yeah.
So there's really there is no excuse anymore to not create. Like in the past, it was like, well, I don't understand Adobe Premiere or DaVinci Resolve or whatever it may be, the editing software. And now it's like, yo, people are getting hundreds of millions of views. Yeah. Holding the phone, vlog style, adding captions at the bottom and making sure that there's at least a different scene every 2 to 3 seconds. Yeah, no doubt. So, now the one thing that's stopping you is you. 100%. It's your insecurities. It's your not willingness to put the work in order to come up with an outline and figure it out. We haven't even talked about the production value or if I need a Sony A7 III in order to we're not even gonna go there, to be honest, just because if you have an iPhone, just use that thing and you'll be good. Which costs as much as an A7 III, by the way, if you get enough storage. Honestly, it does. Real. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. What about people? So, and this is also helping me. So people come to Brantegic and maybe they're like, I don't need video. I'm an appliance store. I don't need video. I'm like educational video specifically. Yeah. And they're brands, I'm an appliance store. I'm a personal injury attorney. I'm a blah, 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 blah. What do you say to people who are like, oh, there's just nobody really doing it in my industry yet? And this is more so maybe for the skeptics. There's nobody in my industry doing educational quick form video on social because I think a lot of these brands haven't caught on to it yet. Yeah. What are you saying to those people who are, I'm an appliance store, I'm a personal injury, I'm blah, 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 blah. Brands aren't doing it versus, because what we're talking a lot about is small businesses, personal branding. What do we say to those people? I mean, it just goes back to where, and I hate to sound like a student of Gary Vee and make it sound so simple. Like in that meeting, I'm asking them when you're out, when you're sitting with your family, what are people looking at? Mm-hmm. Where is people's attention the majority of the time? It's probably more than likely 9 times out of 10 on their phone, consuming something that is relative to what they like to consume. So if you're an appliance store and you should be making a bunch of content that helps the person watching do it for themselves. I'm gonna give you a real life example.
Yeah.
This happened with me. We were screening in my back porch. And I was like, you know what, babe? I was talking to my wife. I was like, you know what, babe? I'm gonna just buy some materials. Watch a video. We'll buy some materials from Home Depot. I'm gonna come and do this thing. I find a wonderful video because, you know, YouTube is SEO and now Instagram has search engine as well. And I go to their YouTube and then they have an Instagram and I'm consuming. Right? This is literally what happens. This is the byproduct of what happens through content. What do? I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna freaking screen in this porch, no problem. I go buy the material, I come home. Doing it is significantly harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I learned something. I trusted the person that gave me the content. Now I'm in a moment of despair as a prospective client. I'm like, doing this is taking too much of my time. I could be allocating my time to be making money, right? Why don't I just hire the person that made the video?
Yeah.
And what do? I go back to their video. I go to their website. I fill in the contact form, or I call them. Yo, are you available in my city to do this? Can you come quote it?
Yeah.
If you're an appliance business, if you are a product or service business, that's literally what's happening. And the reason why some people are, for lack of a better term, winning and others aren't is because they're the ones that come up when I type in what materials do I need to screen in my back porch?
Yeah.
Versus you thinking it's not going to work. I don't know if in 2021 we need to justify that it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe me and you are too deep in the industry, but like there's countless examples where it's like, to be relevant and desired in a content first world, you have to make content.
Yeah.
Period. Like that's it.
No
That's
doubt.
my thoughts. I don't know if that answers the question. I got on a soapbox.
No, it's good, man. And I think providing, like, working yourself out of a job, because I think, what was I doing recently that I was like, mounting a TV. I was like, I can do this. I'm going to buy this mount and I'm going to do it. And then I get the mount and I Google how to do this. I'm like, the TV's going to fall down. This isn't going to stay up. I don't want to do this. So what's the app where they have handyman on there?
Oh, I don't know.
There's an app that has handyman
sure there
on
is.
there. It's freaking awesome that I figured out. And I was like, I can't do this. So I ended up just hiring some handyman to come and just do it for me, because I knew it was going to take me 6 hours from what took him 1 hour. So,
dude, every time. And I'm going to say this for the naysayers, because I know me and Austin get this all the time. So what if they watch the video and they are able to do it themselves?
Yeah.
It's like, you know who they're going to come to when a bigger job comes down the line for them? They're going to be like, the only person that's top of mind is the person who helped me when I didn't have the money to afford a contractor.
Yeah. So
I'm going to call Jimbo and be like, yo, Jim, I watched your video. I was able to mount my TV, but now I need to set up my entire entertainment system. I'm scared I'm going to mess up thousands of dollars worth of gear. Can you come do it? And just like you said, dude, we just had a fan mounted in my house that had been like not working for a while. And I was just like too lazy to do it.
Yeah.
And then they came in, they did it for like $80 in like 30 minutes. And I looked at my wife. I was like, we've been waiting a year to fix this fan for $80. Are you serious right now? So, but that's their rate. That's what's valuable to them. And they saved me a big headache. Yeah. And how did I find them? Through content online that showed how they do what they do. So,
I think the reality is consumers, they're doing more than 80%. So, sorry, 80%, more than 80% of consumers are now doing research on brands and products and services before they actually make the decision.
100%.
And I want to be that brand that's like, dang, these guys are legit. Oh, let me check out some of their videos and get to know the brand a little bit. Let me humanize them. Let me build that trust with educating to share. I actually know what I'm talking about. You know, if 80% of Americans are on social media and they spend 3 hours a day, wouldn't you want to be spending time there?
Would you want to be 15 minutes of their 3 hours?
There's literally, there's nothing else in this world that can reach that volume of people. That's why there's so many of these influencers and their successes and stuff like that, just kind of going on a different level, different tangent.
Winning. And people say like, well, why are all these 10-year-olds to 15-year-olds making millions of dollars? Because they're top of mind.
100%. They're putting themselves out there.
That's it. Like,
yeah,
there's no other explanation. Because I think sometimes people assume that the only way to provide value to someone is to solve, like in our space, the business space, we talk about solving problems, right?
Yeah.
A problem can be like someone is having a shit day.
Yeah.
And they open, and there's that influencer who's very comedic, who's very funny or very entertaining. And they make that the rest, the other 5 hours of that person's day a lot better.
Yeah.
You can do that. I've seen dentists, orthodontists make TikToks, and they have like millions of followers, and they're getting a tremendous amount of brand deals. They're just talking to the camera.
Yeah.
They're teaching you what, like, maybe you won't hire them, but they've instilled knowledge into you that when you go to your dentist, you can at least have a more informed conversation. You may sound like somebody who went to WebMD, but at least you're having a more informed conversation to where you don't get taken advantage of. There's levels to the kind of value that you're giving to people, which I think is,
money
I can tell I'm getting
attention.
hype about this.
Money follows attention. That's what Grant Cardone always says. It's so true.
Facts.
Yeah. What else, man? What else would be valuable to hit on? I feel like everybody who's listened here, who has been listening to this point, they must be so fired up. We hopefully inspired a lot of people to take some action. And hopefully, if you're also listening to this and you're maybe analysis paralysis, confused, or this is just kind of fire hosey, hire Mo. Spend an hour, at least an hour with Mo to get yourself started. He'll give you some clarity. He's actually the real deal. I hire him. He helps me with my stuff. I'm going to hire him again after this conversation because we need to have another conversation. Maybe we should record that live. But man, he is the real deal. And this could be a lot of fire hose conversation, but I do think it's valuable. And I think people should listen to this multiple times to have that formula of how to actually put themselves out there.
Yeah, man. I think I have just one last thing to say. And this is coming from someone who taught public speaking for years. There's the lack of confidence, the imposter syndrome, the concern comes from your ego. I would tell this to my students all the time. If you're scared to stand in front of 25 people, is because you are worried of how you look, of how you sound, and what they're going to think of you. This is called performance-based anxiety. Yeah. Okay. I want you to remember this statement, and I say it all the time. Confidence equals clarity. Your responsibility as someone who is entering the world of content is to be clear. So the audience member is able to follow and understand. That is the only thing you should focus on, is the message that I'm projecting clear. And we talked about the outlining. We talked about how to do that. When you focus your efforts there, you go from a performance-based measurement to a message-based measurement, and that becomes objective. So you start asking yourself, can I articulate this in a way where my ideal audience can hear it, consume it, apply it? Yeah, it's good. And that it's clear for them. That will minimize a lot of, to be confident on camera, I need to be dolled up, look good, sound good, all that kind of stuff. Confidence equals clarity. Be clear about what you're saying, and the rest is the moon. The rest is.
And I also think that puts you in a posture of selflessness.
Yes,
because
amen.
The reason that you're doing it is to help other people. It is not for you. It is not for your ego. The reason you're putting yourself out there is to help other people. And if you come from that posture, then that's a game changer,
100%. 100%.
If you're not up there to feed your ego or look cool or get the biggest applause, if you're just up there to help people, because I think public speaking, isn't that the number one fear?
Yeah.
I'm still scared of it. I'm really scared of it. I get freaked out.
Yeah, it's a legit fear. Like the first lesson that I would teach students in our syllabus was fear of public speaking and overcoming that anxiety and what you need to do. And 9 times out of 10,
what do you need to do?
Come prepared. Come prepared. The reason why I tell, like, there's all these tactics out here of like, do a trending song, do a lip sync. Yes, that works. It works. But it's not going to combat the fact that if you don't prepare what it is you're going to lip sync, the caption you're going to write, what you're like, all of these things, you're not going to show up. So the first thing we teach is like, come prepared. And the way to be prepared is figure out the learning outcome. And I say this example, I think I've said this so many times now on every show I've been on. It's like, if you were at a conference and the audience left your talk and their friend met them at the door and they asked them, What was that about?
Mm.
The audience member should be able to articulate one key thing that they took away from your talk or workshop.
So good.
You may have said so many things, but that's in an hour-long workshop. Let's scale that down to a 15-second reel. What is the one key takeaway that the person watching needs to understand?
Yeah.
And then prepare the outline and then show up. You'll realize, and I want you to try this, yin and yang this. Show up on camera and try to wing it. See how many takes you do, how awkward you feel, how nervous you feel. Then I want you to save that take, don't post it. And then I want you to prepare a learning outcome. Say you're a real estate agent. It's like, I'm going to tell somebody how to find the best mortgage broker. That's it. And you're just going to teach them how to search for a mortgage broker. Then make an outline, then post, then try to record that. Your entire physiology is going to be much more relaxed. It's going to be much more focused because you're going into it knowing what you're going to deliver to help the other person and not try to make yourself look good. So that preparation is key, man, key. And then as you do it more and more, then you can start just doing the outline in your head and not having to write it down, because the action will breed that clarity, will breed that confidence.
Yeah, super good. And I filmed reels yesterday. I had 30 minutes to film 9 videos and I was not prepared for it. And it didn't, I don't think that it went that great. And I had a small amount of time because our video editor was going out of town and I needed to give him some content to edit while he's away. And we'll see how it turns out, but I'm excited to apply some of the things that you're talking about and jump on a call to kind of reset my foundation and reset my strategy, which I think everybody listening should do with you.
Dude, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for creating this space, because I think you're awesome. And I'm honored to be a guest, for real, because you're just great people. And
dude, man, we're here to help people. You're cut from the same DNA of having a heart to serve, having a heart to help people, not egotistical, not doing it for you. Like, you genuinely want to help people and you are an open book, which I really appreciate. And that creates a vessel of opportunity for generosity to also reciprocate to you. And hopefully it shows, man. I want you to do well. Yeah.
Likewise. I'm trying to get a bigger studio like Brand TJ Coach. That studio is so, bro. Dude. The background that you posted on the story with the black backdrop that has curvature in it. Whoo,
clean.
Whoo, too clean. I felt like I was in MoMA there for a second. I was like, this is nice.
Yeah. We had six backdrops, I think, or 6 backgrounds that we can do, which is cool. I'll be interested to see how the market responds to it, Yeah. But I feel like it'll be cool. It'll kind of be like a peer space vibe / but we do it all for you. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully 6 months from now, I'll be like, oh, this is freaking awesome. It's full. People are using it. We're crushing it. But it's never been done, really. So at least I haven't found many companies doing what we're trying to do. So they'll be pioneering, which I think will be fun to be a part of.
That's huge. I think the more you can minimize resistance, like, where are we going to shoot? What are we going to do? It's like,
100%. Yeah,
just show up.
Just
show up to our spot.
Yeah, 110%. So
yeah, I'm excited to visit one day. Once things are a little less chaotic with that's a whole nother
come
world.
Whenever you want, man. You're good.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Man.
No, it'd be cool for you to come up here.
Yeah, I'd be excited to do it.
We should do an event over there.
You definitely should. Isn't Neil crushing it with events right now? He's doing 4
he's got a good talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him talk at his event Forward.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
I heard he did really well there.
Good session.
There was a good turnout and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, quality turnout. It's cool to see Brad Lee and Billie Jean and stuff like that. Yeah. Tom Berry.
Yeah.
Those guys.
He's a relationship. He's a relationship god, Neil. He's so good at it. I mean, it just if there was something I'd love to learn from him, I think I'm intuitively good at building relationships as an extrovert, but the way he does it in the capacity of business is just, I think it's a beautiful thing. Shout out to Neil.
Yeah. Shout out Neil Holm. Yeah, exactly. I think that's how I even originally found you, was comment on your stuff or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get something going, man.
Yeah.
How can, I guess, firstly, we want to make sure people know how to find you, where to find you, why they should reach out to you if they're watching this and maybe they're feeling fire hosy, what you can do to help them out.
Yeah. So you can, my full name is Mo Ismail. I just take off the L and you can catch me at Mo Isma, MOISMAI on Instagram, My company's name is Mox, short for Makers of Content. Our website is www.mox.media. And really what we help people do is we have a done for you side where we will create the content for you, with you, and specifically short form micro content on Instagram and platforms that are like that. And there's also, I'm actually launching right now as we speak, the pilot version of a done with you program. It's a 12-week program where much of what I'm talking about right now is done in a I was trying to say consulting and coaching in one word, in a consulting, coaching, and video educational capacity. And then of course there's the one-on-one consulting, like Austin has been mentioning, where I really help you strategize so you can take that information and then execute on it in a way that has direction and that's lowers the risk and lowers the potential for problems. So those are really the three ways that you can work with me and my team. The one-on-one is with me directly. The done with you, which is this consulting program, is with me. And the done for you is me plus my team creating that content for you at scale. So that's it in a nutshell, man.
Love it.
And again, stoked to be here. We're both wearing black on white. So shout out to the
black on black
brand.
Always. Yeah. Thanks for being on brand, man. Appreciate
Man,
that.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time. This was super good. We're going to have you come on again, or we'll have to record our consulting session and make that a podcast or something like that. Cause I think that's the stuff that helps people, real life stuff.
I agree. Where they see someone like you, who's an agency owner, is like, oh, that worked for them. Let's try it for us.
Yeah. How can I relate?
Then they can hire the both of us.
There we go. Come on, let's go.
That's it.
All right, bro.
Much love, man.
And if you like the interview, I would just ask one thing. You share it with someone that you think would benefit from it. I started this podcast so that I can help get inspiring messages out and allow people to see their potential in unlocking in themselves to rise up in their personal and professional lives. And if it's not being shared, it's not fulfilling its purpose.